Welcome to EIS Coretalk, the show that's more widely shared than my mum's Netflix subscription. Yeah, 20,000 views that last episode have. I'll be honest, I've hurt my finger a bit from all the F5 smashing that I was doing. Samantha Chow used her presidential privileges, that's harder to say than you think, to set up a click farm in Moldova. Yeah, that's how we roll. Now, it had everything, to be fair. We had an actual celebrity in Bruce Buffer, we had a best-selling author in a giant hamster wheel, Brian Falchuk, and we had a TikTok star, Emma Roloff, throwing haymakers. We are to popular culture what the Kardashians are to subtlety and good taste. Largely irrelevant, if I'm honest. But in this episode, we're going to be discussing digital transformation and why yours will fail. Yes, I'm being a negative Nelly in this episode, I'm afraid, but statistically, based on the odds, your chances aren't very high of succeeding. Speaking of odd, we probably need some guests. In the hot seat today, fresh off a juggernaut of a performance at ITI London, she is a former Executive Vice President, Global Chief Data Strategy and Transformation Officer of Global Reinsurance. That's one title. Snappy. Yeah, she's digital transformation's answer to Ada Lovelace. It is the wonderful Lisa Wardlaw. And my next guest needs no introductions, so I'm not going to give him one.
Ed, where's my theme tune?
Well, I may not have your theme tune, but I have got a present for you, Tony. Yeah, generous.
Ooh, I love presents, Ed.
Catch.
Oh, Ed, I love it. This is definitely going to become my uniform.
Well, you're not going to put it on now?
Oh, Ed, it's too good. I gotta get in character to wear this.
Oh, I was hoping we were going to get a little kind of magic Tony show, you know. No, maybe not. Anyway, let's get cracking on the subject of today. Digital transformation. Why you suck. That was what we agreed on, right?
Oh, sorry, Ed. I was fixing my hair for the episode. Why your digital transformation will fail.
Sorry, yeah. Why digital transformations fail, open brackets, you suck, close brackets. Good. Right, Lisa, so tell me, why do most insurers' digital transformations fail?
Well, as you said, you suck. Why do they tend to fail? They tend to fail because I think most executives don't actually understand what it takes to achieve and compartmentalize digital. So think about it like a Lego brick. You have to understand how to form the pattern and the ultimate thing that you're trying to build. And as executives, we tend to go all in on these very big, very robust transformations. And when we go all in on that, we forget that we need to be able to compose and decompose the tech. So there's a lot of strategies about all in or either or things like that. But I think most importantly, transformations fail because we delegate or relegate that to people who are quote unquote the users, but they don't understand how to decompose and compose what we're trying to build. And then you've got the architects who are engineers and techies in and of themselves. So as the business leader, I call it immersion. You have to immerse yourself in becoming like a Lego brick seeker. How do you find the right pieces and parts to form the ultimate Lego Porsche, I'll say?
Tony, from the vendor perspective, what common pitfalls do you see there?
From the vendor side, there's a mentality often when they go into the project, they really don't understand the customer's why. What are they trying to achieve? What is it that they're doing to transform and change their business? Because vendors could actually be a lot more consultative in their programs than I think they allow themselves to be. Oftentimes, they'll take a order taker mentality from where Lisa just described, maybe people who haven't figured out all of the Lego blocks. But as the vendor, you kind of have. You've done this many times, and I think vendors could actually be much more of a partner in the program. And And I remember one project that we were doing, and one of the senior executives was having the team hard code in the F keys, F12, F9, F8, because that's what they used to do on their mainframe system. And I get it because it was a real data heavy, intensive application. But still, we're talking about really modern technology with professional designers who could actually design input screens that would be very efficient and not have to use the legacy methods of the F keys. And, Ed, my final point here is, what I always say about digital transformation, like we were talking about with our good friend Emma Roloff in the last episode, digital transformation, it's all about the people. And you really got to get the people's mentality changed for innovation so that those transformation projects can be successful.
Ooh, somebody's changed their tune since the last episode. Emma, I think you can take that as a win. I think you've convinced him. He's very quickly changed his idea on that one. But anyway, I am interested in something you picked up there. As someone who used to sell tech, you mentioned there about the risk of becoming an order taker. Why do you think why is that a risk? Why can that happen?
They're afraid to challenge. And if you challenge, you're in the sales mode and you're in the implementation mode and you're afraid to challenge lots of times. And really where the best ideas come from is being able to challenge one another. The customer has the insurance experience, the vendors have the technology experience. Let's get in a room and hash it out. But there's fear in doing that. And because of that, and furthermore, that archaic procurement process doesn't even allow for it. You just got to come in, you got to answer the questions and just hope to move to the next step. So there's a lot that's broken in the sales process. But in reality, these programs should be addressed as true partnerships where you really are hashing things out and bringing the both expertise together and coming up with something great, just like Emma and I did last week, which is why I'm now talking about digital transformation starts with the people.
Lisa, you mentioned before about Greenfield as an approach. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I can. So I think kind of to segue off what Tony was just talking about, and we'll come back to the digital is all about the people and like where we need to be, like making sure transformation does not fail or i.e. suck. I think that we need to really focus on non-linear concepts, which is a juxtaposition in and of itself, which gets into Greenfield. So how do we open our minds into thinking beyond, revving up our engines? How do we get beyond automating what already exists? And we talk about this a lot. And then to your point, Tony, like, people go into sales meetings and then they go into procurement process. And I call it the have it your way, right? We go into this mode of have it your way. We want to amp up what we already do. And we've, ghastly inserted that word digital. We're going to amp up what we do and we're going to make it digital and we're going to transform. And you can actually use the Transformers as an example, right? They go from like being a car to being a robot to, et cetera. But what we really need to think about is how would we kind of take one bot and form another bot entirely, not a version of itself. And so in my experience, we need to get well beyond the tech and the capabilities that are, kind of being thrust at us in our industry. And we need to step outside of it and think totally greenfield, like what's out there that I haven't come across today? How can I apply that? And what it requires and why I think we're currently so, I would say anemic at it is because it requires a lot of comfort with the unknown. Like a heavy almost desire to live in a state of ambiguity when you're designing, when you're figuring things out, which gets all back to your point, Tony, like it's not about the tech, it's about the people. I would say maybe like, we all have access predominantly to the same checkbooks. We're all chasing the same proverbial like rev up, automation, digital transformation, et cetera. But it's going to be the ingenuity, the way we compartmentalize it and think about it in ways that other people haven't thought of. So again, I'll go back to my Lego brick example. I spent a lot of time when I was running digital strategy and when I was COO and CFO, because yes, I actually had the pocketbooks as well, trying to think about how do I compose and decompose the tech not only that's available for insurance, but that's actually out there in the marketplace, so that we stop doing things that are readily available and that we double down on things that are relevant. And so again, it's really understanding total greenfield. Like, how do I get into a place that I haven't been in before, and then I'm not just automating?
Lisa, so are you saying that all of these innovation groups and insurtechs, they need to trade in their kegs of beer for big bundles and big pails of Lego?
So like, and I guess I've got Lego on my mind, so I'm just going to stick with that theme. What I think, and you know, my youngest is into the like 3-in-1 creators and all that, right? So I think what we need to do is really lean into the fact that there's core bricks and blocks available to everyone that is not insurance specific. So we, you know, like for example, Microsoft can decode, cursive handwriting. Why would any of us try to be like self-building that in our own like InsurTech and bolt-on underwriting apps? That's silly. We need to kind of connect that piece or that functionality to Microsoft. And I'll just use that as one example. But I think then there are core bricks, like, you know, like if you lose this one part, like you've got to call Lego to get that brick back. And so there's core bricks that we need to understand. And I like to use the Tesla battery example. Like, it's like our battery. It's what makes us unique. It's what's going to outpace us against our competition. And the way we formulate that battery and then build all the parts around it is the ingenuity part. It's the thinking part. It's the part that, just to be blunt, most tech advisors and salespeople can't offer you. The best solution engineers I've interacted with offer me their solutions. And so it's really, how do you, and this gets back to my entry into all this, why I think a lot of transformation and innovation fails, is because people aren't held accountable for actually, I call it immersion, digital immersion and tech immersion. What's out there? What's on the market, what's on the street, and what enables me to build what I'm trying to build. And maybe I'll say, Tony, I don't know that most people actually go into it knowing what they want to build. They know they need to be digital, or they know they need to compete. They don't actually have a clear vision of what that means.
So is what you're saying that you think it's important for any salesperson to be accompanied by a kind of technical expert, technical resource when going out and engaging with customers?
But I say that's a minimum to me. Like, I not to be rude, but like, I don't talk to salespeople without a technical architect or engineer in the room, like ever. Like, my first meeting was bring in your chief architect, chief engineer, or I wouldn't even talk to a salesperson. So I would never demo, just for everyone. Like, I know I'm like anti what most clients are, but I'm like, don't show me your demos. Anybody can make a pretty demo. You know, I want to see your architectural diagram. So I always started at conceptual architecture. But I think that one of the fundamental things is a problem that I've observed as a buyer and as someone trying to put together massive scale, like, you know, like something that something that's never been done before. Those engineers only know that tech, and they know that tech from a sales, you know, solution delivery perspective. They don't know actually how to build the 3-in-1 diagram that I'm trying to build. So I would have to put about, on average, 6 to 10 of those types of sales engineers across platforms, across tech, in a room together to actually get something meaningful out of it.
Tony, can you share any successful examples?
I have, Ed. And, you know, I said it in Coretalk Live, never put me after Lisa, because I just can't compare to those answers. But I can tell you about some really successful transformations. So building off of what Lisa said, putting these blocks together, you know, in these Greenfield transformations, the best practice that I'm seeing is they all start with the new. What's the new? Is it a new product? Is it a new channel? Is it a new market? Let's start there. Let's focus, zero in on that new, and get that going, get that live. And because what that then becomes is your flagship project that the rest of the organization can see what innovation and digital transformation starts to look like. But it's small and controllable. But the beauty of that whole model is that when you do that, you now become the expert in that system. So then when you look at the next big thing that you want to tackle, the next part of your business that you want to tackle, you know the system inside and out, you know what it works great, what doesn't work so great, and you become the expert. And that's really called what we call fail safe transformation. And we have customers that are just absolute giants. There's absolute rock stars that are doing this. And we had Guardian Life, who a few years ago started in a direct-to-consumer model for the gig economy, because they saw the gig economy was a growing piece of the market, and so they wanted to get products that were a fit for that market and get them into market, and they did that fast. And now they became the expert of the system, and now we're tackling their $2 billion block of business. Aflac, they wanted to get into more of a consumer model, and they've done that with our platform. And now what they are able to do in this kind of fail-safe digital transformation way, they're now able to look at what's the next big thing that they want to put on. They can acquire businesses and put them on our platform because they're the expert. And you don't just have to be a giant leading carrier like those two. You could also support startup insurers in this model. So Wellfleet is a startup insurer. They're in the Berkshire Hathaway lineage, and they're looking to transform the industry through amazing digital experiences. But they're a startup. They're a startup that's acting like an insurtech. But in each one of these cases, they start with the new. They get that to market. They then become the experts, and then they start to back off, look at the big picture now that they know how all these Lego pieces can fit together, and they start building some amazing designs with their blocks of Lego.
Lisa, when we were chatting before the episode in the green room, Zoom, you actually mentioned a really good story about a VC that you had. Would you mind sharing that with the audience?
Yeah, I think that one thing, I guess I would say, like, start with a new. I guess I would like amplify what Tony was saying, though. A lot of times people think they're going to do this one thing, and they're going to do these really, really big, like large scale, like 3-5 year transformation projects with, gosh, that'll be like a wedding, like double or triple the budget, double or triple the time, double triple the stabilization, or they think, I'm going to do this one thing because, this is, how we don't fail at transformation. We do one thing and we do it really well. And I love the word, we focus. We're focused on this one thing and we've scoped it properly and we're going to execute it. Well, what inevitably I've seen that become, and so glad to see, Tony, that you had examples that weren't this. They're focused on a function or a feature or a capability that they want to develop. They're not focused on an end-to-end new business launch or new product to market or something like that. So I think that where I have seen it so successful is when we're going to take an entirely new A to Z approach, and that to use the naughty word in insurance, that includes your policy master data, people, all the way from concept all the way through to this thing like operations, processing, and I'll give a nod to my original lineage, that even the CFO, the finance function. So how do we get things like at inception? How do we get real-time margin analysis? Event-based processing. So I've seen it be successful when we focus on it as something that we're going to do A to Z, as though we're creating an entirely new business model, business unit, whatever. Whomever's driving that became like the CEO of that. And it is your mission, just like a startup, just like founding an insurtech. It is your mission to get this to market. And I have a rule that says if Amazon can do it in 2 months, we have to be able to do it in no more than 4.
So, Tony, do you think that innovation should sit to one side, or that it should be actually within the insurance ecosystem?
At innovation, it's everybody's job. It's not just the cool group that's sitting in some really great workspace wearing jeans every day with their now big pail of Lego blocks, but it's everybody's job. And I remember when we started doing innovation when I was at the Hartford in 2010, talk about the OG of insurance innovation. We were doing this. We set up a group in 2010. It was Innovation and Corporate Venture Capital. Now, the really awesome thing that they did at Hartford back then was innovation became everybody's job. So all of the direct reports of the CEO had innovation in their job performance, and it was Are they engaging with this cool new innovation group? Are they testing? Are they learning? Are they getting that return on knowledge? And are they applying that return on knowledge to their business? And because it became it became one of the main functions, not main functions, but it became one of those things that you're being evaluated on for the EVPs. It then became really important for the SVPs and really important for the VPs and AVPs and all the way down to the directors. And that really created a fantastic culture of innovation, because you start from the top and you get everybody involved. And that's how you do innovation. It's not just the cool group on the side.
And Lisa, on that note, how do you kind of keep the actual business, the mothership, writing insurance premium and stop innovation becoming some kind of side pet project?
Well, that's a great question, right? Because we are beholden to continue to process business. And so, anyone that spends any time in any innovation, we have this like mental image that I think was made popular in a cartoon picture. It's like, innovation or doing it within a large scale organization that's not a startup is like trying to change an engine between aircrafts while they're flying. So you can think of two engines in flight and trying to change the engine. And that's really the task that we're taking on. But I guess I would like to pinpoint, a lot of people come up to me and there's actually somebody that I'm working with right now. And it's an either or. It is well, in order to do innovation and in order to keep the mothership, writing premium, making investments, paying claims, underwriting risk, we have to create this thing like over to the side. And even if the innovation team's not off to the side, it's this like new paradigm, this new project, this new tech. And it's often thought of as it needs to be ring fenced off. It needs to be separate and apart from the mothership. And I guess I would offer up that the only way to do this, and let me just pause, because before I even go there, like I was actually going to ask, Anthony or Tony, like, I wonder if the people that worked in I think you said the Hartford, the example that you gave, I wonder how innovative they would rank the company. Because I always thought it was funny. Like I used to work for like the best in breed companies, and we'd all like eye roll when the articles would come out about like best in class, et cetera. So I say that because as we try to make innovation everyone's job and embrace it, oftentimes we're so caught in the day-to-day, which kind of comes into like, how do you keep the mothership running? It's like, like your job is to pay claims, your job is to like, do data intake, data processing, and then somebody has to like work on the new stuff. Or, oh my gosh, the inverse of that is, well, everyone's like, working 80% on their day job, and then they've got a project that requires 50%. So that's simple math, they're overtaxed. So I think what I have seen be so successful is incredibly clear understanding of what we're building and why. And by building, I mean new market, new business model, et cetera. Like it would be like recording a movie, like having an outcome. Like we understand what we're going to achieve. And then, just like a director of a movie would come in and say, okay, here's how it's going to flow. Here's the screens. Here's here's the cadence that we're going to do this at. Innovation needs to work much like that, because we will have pivots along the way. Like the weather might be bad this day or that day, and we'll pivot how we film or where we get there, but it's kind of integrated. So I guess I'm teeing this up because I think that there needs to be incredible immersion at the leadership level, not just in to your point, like AVP, MVPs, POCs, steering committees. I've actually stopped being on steering committees because I found that they're such a waste of time. I'm like, I'm not going to show up if all we're going to do is a pretty PowerPoint. So like, I really get involved, and I guess I'll use my personal story as success. Like, my personal experiences, I immerse myself like all the way to where I could actually talk tech with the solution engineers, all the way up to the conceptual architects, the data architects. And I challenge, like I never accept no. I always accept a why not. And I'll tell you, I've had many architects and engineers tell me it couldn't be done. And then I'm like, well, I'm from Missouri. So like, show me state, show me why. And then a week or two later, they'll come up with a solution that actually fits the business design that I was after. So I think it's a combination of, first of all, it has to be organic and fluid. And to your point, Tony, I love the fact that like everyone's involved, but not everyone can build on the Legos at the same time. So then how do we make that work? How do we involve, our backup characters and everyone as part of the cast. How do they know that the movie that we're recording, that we're directing, how do we engage and involve them in that? How do we then create a technology transformation that enables the business transformation on top of it while the planes are flying? And that's why I think honestly, the most sophisticated of people that do this should be in the highest demand, because it is probably akin to being, like one of the best movie directors in the world.
Now, Tony, taking some of the newer technologies that are out there, AI, machine learning, how do we go about integrating those into our core operating models? Is it all about, by any chance, super sexy APIs?
And you stole my line. It is all about super sexy APIs. But the problem is that all of those modern legacy systems that are out there today, they can't connect to external systems like that. But all the new technologies, what you can actually do is you can bring the AI and ML, you can bring it right into your operational database. So here's what's going on in today's dirty little secret world of AI and ML and core systems. So the two technologies can't work together. So you have your operational database that's just focused on processing and, issuing a policy or batch processes, God forbid. And then you have your really cool AI and ML working over here. And so what do? Well, they build a data lake, and then the AI and ML guys, they look at the data and they make decisions, based off of what the data is telling them, and it gives hints to the worker as to what should be done next. Well, except the two systems are not integrated, because you can't take those types of systems and integrate it into your operational database. But with the new technologies of Coretach, the new technologies and the new databases, you could have AI and ML right into your operational database. And so as you're entering and processing data, that machine learning is going on, and it's telling the system how to route that work. It's telling the system what's the next best action that needs to take place. You don't need to go off and run a report, get that report delivered by paper, 2 hours or 2 days later, and then do it. You could do it all right within the system. And that's what the Coretach technology is going to allow you to do.
Did somebody say modern legacy? Do I need to get Ned Ballsy on phone?
Ed, I have another free gift to offer the Coretalk community. We have a ebook on using Greenfield as your source for digital transformation. Now, we've provided that one in the past, so I'm going to do a twofer this time, Ed. Also with the ebook is going to be another one on how to win in the new digital economy. And with those two ebooks together, forget it. You got everything that you need to go win in the market.
So, Lisa, in your opinion, what's the most important lesson that people should take from today's session?
Well, I guess first and foremost, it's that there's a t-shirt that has super sexy APIs on it that will be unveiled and worn at the next session. So that's my most important thing people should take out of this. It's kind of got a flower power vibe to it. So Tony, I really think I want one of those. I think the most important thing people should take out of the session, and gosh, the ML and AI thing had me going there, Tony, because I was like trying to find a solution for that 5 years ago and one didn't exist in the market. And so I think, okay, first of all, a couple of key takeaways. Innovation and transformation is not an either or, it's a yes and. We have to get to market to deliver to consumers with impatience and hyper expectations of immediacy and personalization. You could just rattle it off, right? Embedded, usage-based, real-time, on-demand. All those things require that we do not deal in this legacy world of monolithic binary, like only one or types of decision trees and things like that. So how do we loop in this spider web of technology and capabilities that exists readily? That's the thing. It's in the market. It's shame on us for not doing it. So I call it a yes and. The call to action is you have to do it. And I would say the most important lesson, I would say from my perspective as leading digital transformation and as a large scale buyer, is that, I had to treat tech not like somebody else's job, not like, the CIO's job or the chief enterprise architect's job, God forbid, procurement's job. I had to treat it as my job as the person who supported the CEO and ran the business. And so it became to me like immersion in a language. I never took anyone's answer at face value. I would ask everyone I could possibly talk to about the same thing over and over and over again. And I started to identify, just like you would if you were learning a language, patterns, like a dialect. I started figuring out patterns. And then based on those patterns, I would start to really press my vendors and press the solutions that I was seeking. And so I guess my ultimate thing is, be that leader, be that person, and surround yourself by people who are not yes people, from your technology partners to your solution integrators, to your consultants, to your team. Find the buckets of Lego bricks.
Well, thank you very much. Now, for those wondering, no, this episode was not sponsored by Lego, despite appearances. Are there children's bricks available? I mean, Lego's the best one, though. Go for those ones. Anyway, thank you very much for the two of you for this fascinating chat. Really, really enjoyable one. Now, if you've listened all the way through the episode to this point, maybe you will be different. Maybe you will buck the trend. Maybe you will break the mold. Maybe you will defeat the odds and ultimately not suck when it comes to digital transformation. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, I urge you, please go to eisgroup.com/Coretalk, where you can like, comment, share this episode, subscribe for future ones, but more excitingly, you can see all the old ones as well. Yeah, we've done lots of these. This isn't just the first one. Someone commissioned this, can you believe it? Anyway, if you go on there, you'll even be able to see the ITI London live session that we did at the O2. And Lisa Wardlaw joined us on that one. So if you enjoyed what she had to say here, you'll enjoy that probably equally as much. In reality, not going to be better, not going to be worse. You'll enjoy it equally as much. So please do head over and have a look at that. But we thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.